So we're working our way through our sequence. Okay, now, so far we've played from G to B7. We've then played from B7 to C7. Now you may be thinking at this stage you're confident enough to play G, B7, C7. If that's the case, that's great. Just a little point about that. If you're going to do that, it's something I talked about in the last series actually, which is you need to balance what you're playing. So if you're playing 3 chords or 4 chords or whatever it is, you need to be thinking about getting those phrases to sit nicely, but also to complement each other. So if you've been busy over one chord, you can maybe lay back a bit on the next one, and vice versa. But what you want to do is keep a nice balance in the solo. Anyway, more about that in future episodes. But for the moment, I'm quite happy if you're just playing from one chord to the next. Get yourself comfortable with that. So G to B7, comfortable. B to C7, get that comfortable. Okay, so this next one, in a way, is very similar to the last change that we just talked about, except to say that there's more distance involved. Now, if there's more distance involved, that makes it different from going from B7 to C7. C7 to A7 is much further away. Okay, so what that's going to mean is we're going to take slightly different chord references. Now, I'm going to take 2 examples of this. It's very important you get your chance to investigate this stuff yourself. I mean, I could make 100 episodes on things you could play over this, but it's important just to act as a catalyst to get you to play stuff. I don't want you just to play like me or play like somebody else. You need to play like yourself. Now that may involve elements of stuff I've talked about, elements of stuff you heard on whatever recording, different guitarists you like, but you do have to have the chance to have that space. And if I fill up too much space with too many ideas, it doesn't leave you that opportunity. So okay, so C7. Okay, now if I'm looking at that, I'm thinking A7 here at the 5th fret, so it's an E shape. Okay, now again, what we need to think about here is what notes are in common between the 2 chords and what notes differentiate them. Okay, so as ever, we've got our 2 chord diagrams separately. And then we've got the 2 diagrams put together. Okay, now without putting too fine a point on it, those diagrams you just looked at, that's what you should be seeing in your mind's eye when you're playing. Okay, because if you're not seeing that, you're guessing, aren't you? That's what you're doing. Okay, now a lot of people get very concerned, very hung up about anything that is even remotely theoretical, and the reality of it is basically that this stuff supports everything you play, whether you know it's there or not. So you might as well know it's there, mightn't you? Anyway, okay. So if I look at the C7, the most striking thing, if I was playing a C7, the last thing I really want to do, unless I'm playing a jazz gig, playing that sort of sound, or we're not doing that stuff, okay. Unless I was playing some jazz or playing a flat 9, okay, well that sounds pretty awful, doesn't it? Okay, but not if there's an A7 going. Okay, let's take a couple of little examples. So another little point to think about, and as you get more comfortable with some of these changes, is to say to yourself, well, okay, up to this point with this particular chord sequence, we've played up to a change. hopefully articulated it successfully, and then pretty much stopped once we've done that. So, as with the previous series, once we've starting to get the hang of articulating the chords, the next thing to do is try and even it up a little bit. So we play, let's say, half a dozen notes for our C7, and maybe half a dozen for our A7, as opposed to half a dozen notes for our C7 and one note when we've arrived on our A7. This next little example is taking that principle. Okay. Now again there, slightly different reference point with that last number. It's another little piece of, a little bit of food for thought there really, isn't it? If you're playing over C7, and we're using our chord shape, that doesn't stop us using a pentatonic, does it? You know, just because we found this idea, it doesn't make it better or worse than the other one. It just means it's something we're less familiar with. So we don't want to be overusing stuff and forgetting about stuff which we already know. So here's my C this time, just played as a pentatonic. Okay, now I haven't actually gone anywhere with it yet. Okay, you can hear that. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. And so on and so forth. So there's a lot of possible examples there. The main thing to do is to be thinking, well, once I get to the A, if I've got there, can I go on a little further? Well, okay. That'd be another example. But again, you've got to think about the context of the song as well. And so in many of these songs, the guitar is actually playing quite a delicate role. So again, it's back to that, well, sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's nice just to go, okay, so there really I'm just messing around almost on one string, just thinking about what's the simplest way I can articulate those chords. Okay, so hopefully there's some ideas there for you. As I said, just acting as a catalyst to get you thinking about new phrases and getting your way around these changes. So that's about it for this particular episode, so I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching, and please hit the subscribe button. Bye for now.